Sean, do you find that any hospitality leaders over there on the European side of the universe are handling this crisis in a way that you think is really good?
And I think of hospitality in a broad spectrum. So those that serve in food, beverage, be it hotels or anything else. I listened to an interview this morning with the CEO of Brewdog, and they're based up in Scotland. And you talk about inspiration for a business that has a couple of hundred employees. I think he's got about 500-600 employees. And, they've redeployed their delivery vans to deliver food locally for kids and for those that aren't going to school. They've, started distributing and changing how, amazingly, apparently beer and making hand sanitizers, the equipment can be interchangeable, apparently. So they've done that. And so they're all doing their bit for beyond the business. And that's really impressive. All the hotel stories, whether you're setting up the cafeteria or the employee break room for the local responders like the police and others that are trying to enforce this, you hear hundreds of those stories. When I was directly in hotels as a general manager or regional or whatever job I was in, you always partnered with the local emergency services because we were all intertwined in one way or another.
Right.
And we opened up our cafeteria so the night crew could do all their paperwork between 12 and 3 a.m. and have a safe place with a good cup of coffee and a meal. And I think that's in our genealogy and why we all do this.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. All right, so you see a scroll up there on the bottom of the screen with where to go to. That is actually wrong. I typed in the wrong address. Our producer, Jeff, is going to fix that right now and put up the correct address for you so you do not have to remember it. So stay tuned for that. Sean, we're talking a lot about adapters in this book that we're working on. What are the keys to being a great adapter, particularly right now, to be able to get out of your own way and everything that you're bringing to the table emotionally and move forward in the right way?
So, I'm a cyclist and I climb mountains. And there's nothing worse than starting at the bottom of a mountain and thinking about how do you get to the top. So the question is, how do you do it? You do it the 3 meters that are in front of you. Exactly the 3 meters. You do 3 meters, then 3 meters, and then your mind is freed to think about other things other than the pain. And right now it's about what's in front of you, the 3 meters. What we've certainly heard from the adapters that are in the space. So there's a couple of camps. The camp that says, okay, take rapid action that is painful. And if that means furloughing, if that means managing your cash aggressively, if that means having all the painful conversations, the ones that have done that fast have freed up that next 3 meters and are doing it. The second thing that they're doing is they're now having progressive conversations that says, okay, we thought we had a level 3 business continuity plan, so the BCP. The BCP now has to turn faster. And that, then the next step is getting the budget or whatever you had as a budget, putting it in the bin and lighting it and get to a 13-week cash flow so that you're agile in whatever comes across your bow. The third component is, how do you reopen if you can? And the ones that are smart are putting their egos away and getting on and trying to get the government assistance and getting there fast with the SBA loans and the other loans. Now, I don't care what jurisdiction you're in. I'm talking about the same thing in the UK or in Europe, where 80% of many of the employees' salary is being covered by the government. But you have to get your employees to get to that stage quickly. So then that frees up resources to hopefully get everybody back to work when it's time to get back to work. And then the next piece was overwhelming with the level of empathy about family, community, and blending that in as well. It's not exclusive, and it's not one or the other in that. And also, candidly, the ones that are the top 2% are thinking about how they reshape and reinvent coming out of this. And they're planning that now. They're not acting on it, but they're certainly thinking about it and rallying around, okay, what are the what if scenarios and scenario management? But there is a vision. They've got a vision, And the ones that are panicking don't have a vision because they're mired at looking at the top of the mountain when you should be looking at the 3 meters in front of you.
Yeah,
Is
Sean,
that a
you
fair
said something. I'm sorry. You said something that I want to back up to a little bit. I'm sorry. Were you not finished with your thought? I'll let you finish.
Anthony, I'm finished when you think I'm finished. I'm good.
I want to go back to the first thing you said, because when this first happened, there were businesses in my community and businesses, friends of mine, that were making drastic decisions immediately to furlough employees. I mean, immediately within the first 24 hours, because they were like, I have to get to the next 3 meters. So now those same people are now helping those employees. They're helping their community, but they had to immediately take care of what's in front of them, their cash flow, and so they can survive to help other people. And some of my friends, some of my colleagues were very dismissive of them and said, you know, they should have waited. This is not fair. They're being cold-hearted. And what you don't understand is, or they didn't understand is, you had to make that decisive action. It wasn't like, well, let's wait a day or two. Let's see what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen immediately. 24 hours, boom,
Right.
Make a decision, close the business, furlough the people, and let's save cash so we can bring them back and we can help them. And so I'm glad you said that, because it is about the first 3 meters. Again, this show is about the first 3 meters. The show is like, what are we going to do next week? I have no idea. You know, what are we going to do tomorrow? We have a little bit of an idea. What's going to come out of my mouth? I don't know. It's just about, let's get in front of, and you know, you said another thing, that how are we going to get back to being hospitality people, and we're huggers, and we shake hands, and we like being around people. You know, people are getting comfortable, unfortunately, you know, like this, like we have more connection and more conversation, me and Glenn, than we've ever had.
So true.
Doing this every
At least
day.
off the mic.
So I hope people don't get so used to it that this is the way we communicate going forward. And a lot of businesses may not go back to having that office space and that rent and that storefront. They may say, hey, this is work. Let's do it. If you remember in 2008, you know, when we had to do more with less, when we went to 2012, we were still doing more with less. Even though we had, you know, even though things were good, we were still not bringing people back. We were still not bringing people back. We're not opening up different things that we closed. So it is a mystery of how this is all going to pan out.
Yeah, you know, this whole, I think some of the early conversation points that I think we gravitate to is, will we be a digital meeting society, and will we be this or that? Yeah, it's too early to tell. You know, in the conversations even last night with our broader 15-person dinner group, this came up as well, because literally I was hosting everybody literally as we are now. And what some of the early indications of it is, it's helping people to listen. And we probably, you know, people like me need to work on listening all the time, because you get your best answers when you shut up and listen to the really smart people. And so you know, what is interesting is, when you're in a Zoom room or you're in one of the digital meeting rooms, you know, you have to pay attention to all the senses, body language, what you're listening to, and listen harder and make sure people aren't standing on each other. And that may be a really positive outcome from this. But also, I think there's going to be some really good questions that leaders will ask is, do you really need to get on that plane, or can you do this on a Zoom room? You know, one of the other best practices I think, you know, I certainly might employ is, when we're doing meetings, I might actually do it on a Zoom in the office, so that people can all, you know, we can record it. You know, I read Ray Dalio's book Principles recently, and they record every meeting, and then they play it back. And it's very telling how people interact and learn from each other. And I wonder if that's going to be a byproduct. And the third thing is, you know, I wish, you know, as my wife Andrea came up with this, she said, I wish they didn't call it social distancing, more like physical distancing. So that it's not intertwining the relationship with the physical act. And, you know, different countries do cool things, right? So what I think is kind of cool coming out of Italy, they before we were all locked in our houses and apartments, you know, they were foot pumping, you know, it's a fist pumping. So, you know, hey, the Italians do really cool things with fashion. So follow the foot pump and see where that goes. But, you know, maybe we'll get some fun things coming out of a very dark period.
Well, I think the humor on the internet has been terrific during this dark period.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things that I really appreciate, is how people could take such a difficult time and tragedy in a lot of instances, and flip it on its head to make us laugh and feel good about ourselves for a little while.
Sure.
Anthony, you want to say?
It's just fascinating. If I look at how I've reacted in 4 or 5 days, I've literally watched nothing, done nothing outside of what's in front of me, my family, what we're doing on the internet, and maybe I'll take a walk or a bike ride, go down to the beach. I'll play online poker for free, and that's all I do. And any news that I need to hear, I hear, obviously. But I went from a guy that watches and sees and reads everything to like apparently my personality is when things like this happen, I just got to go, what's in front of me? What's my 3 meters? What's my 3 meters?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very helpful. As a matter of fact, if people try to put information into my orbit that I don't want, I get angry. I'm like, I don't want it. Please stop talking to me. I don't want to hear it. It's like, I need to stay in my 3 meters, because if I'm going to be helpful to Glenn and to a hospitality industry and myself and my family, we've all got to deal with this our separate ways.
Right.
And the way you acted a week ago or a month ago, 2 months ago, it's okay if you're reacting to this differently, and look to that leadership, look to the people around you who are handling it, and ask for advice, and I think that that's really critical. It's, 100% of the people on earth have never dealt with this. So there's no right way to handle it.
There isn't. I love the that whole notion, though, just to take it home for a minute about that 3 meters thing. If you let too many things infiltrate your mind, you're not going to be able to solve the problems that are right at hand. You could get weighed down. You could get overwhelmed. It could seem like it's too much to get through because there is so many issues that we all have to deal with. So, have that checklist and just knock off the things that are right in front of you at any given time. So I think that both of you are speaking really, really smartly about how we're getting through this. I know that's how I'm getting through this. I'm not thinking about what's going to be happening in September. I'm thinking about who's going to be our guests on the show in the next few days and just keep that running, because that's the only thing right now that I have control over.
One thing I might add, Glenn, though, is, find some time to think about the positive nature of the future.
Right.
Business innovation is going to come from this period on a magnanimous level, as yet to be determined. Right. Going through micro events, it's hard to say that 2008 to 2009 was a micro event in comparison to this. Maybe it is, I don't know. And previous ones, is that some of the best innovations, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, the iPhone didn't exist. You look at the platform that we're all using in one form or other with Zoom and others didn't exist. Most of the technologies that are now ubiquitous at keeping the fifth state in some respects, with the FANG stocks, didn't mature until after 08, 09. That now is ensuring that people are getting baby formula coming to their door, including, cat litter and chocolate. Who knows? All in the same box. We're depending on that.
Were you with me at the grocery store this morning? Because I just got all of those things.
Yeah, well,
I
hacked his headphones because they're so cool.
I was thinking about that, that 10 years, I was thinking about that this morning. 10 years ago, we'd have a much more difficult time handling this because we couldn't do this. Glenn and I wouldn't be able to broadcast from our homes. Think about it. I mean, you couldn't
call you up and you'd be like, "Who the hell are you? Why are you calling me? I don't even know you yet." You
couldn't broadcast. You couldn't get anything from Amazon. I mean, think about the old people that are isolated from their families, that are depending on getting their medication and getting their food. It's really insane that 10 years ago, Amazon didn't exist and all these things that we're using didn't exist. And now it's here. And it's really the things that we're depending on, like we're depending on water. It's really, it's really fascinating.
Not to correct you, but Amazon has been around for over 20 years, Anthony. They started to.
They've only been profitable for like 5
just a little longer.
I'm not even sure if they're profitable now because they've been so great at putting their money back into global domination that they really are in so many different sectors right now.
But Glenn, the near future should be on our minds. And, I hope those of us that are in the space and keep a digital notebook, that's what an iPhone for is, get that memo going on the ideas that you're having right now to solve problems. Because the innovation is what comes out of this. Mm-hmm. Better marketing in the hospitality space that just isn't all, product priced marketing. I know that's a huge generalization. I know a bunch of people will jump on this and go like, your man's crazy. That Irish guy's nuts, which is true, by the way. That being said, why can't we challenge ourselves to market our space better? Why can't we be as good as some of the feature driven as opposed to price driven? And how do we get to a customer as opposed to a category? These are all things we can solve coming out of this.
The word I dislike the most and like the most is authenticity, right? I like it because it's the way I was born, it's the way I am, and it's the way I think Glenn is and the way you are. Authenticity is an amazing word, but it's so overused. And now you hear it's like, well, we have to be authentic now. We have to, if you weren't authentic before, don't try to be authentic now because you're going to look like an idiot.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah.
You're going to look dumber than you did before.
Exactly.
But those people that are in your company, and if you can kind of rebrand and really come up with a thoughtful way of running your business, that's exactly right. And I think those authentic companies will flourish, and those companies that aren't authentic, if they don't rebrand and really bring in people in their industry and in their business that are authentic, you're going to have a problem. Because right now, the one thing that almost none of us have that to spare is patience. We're all exhibiting patience, but we don't have much to spare. So whatever patience we have, we're using. It's full. So if you're not authentic and you're going to approach me and you're going to sell me something and you're not being authentic and you're not telling me what, you're not helping my situation, the patience that I'm showing, I'm not going to have any for you. Matter of fact, I'll give you the perfect example. I had two fans of mine, top fans, that said something disparaging about a guest I had on yesterday, and they're gone. They're blocked. I have no patience. Whereas maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe I would have, given them a break and, suspended them for a week or so. I banned them, and I don't want to hear from them anymore. So right now, if you're not a company that is empathetic and truly understanding the heart of your customer, they're not going to have a lot of patience because there's not a lot to go around right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Makes a ton of sense. So this is a time for that. Now, so everybody, who's listening should listen to Anthony because he'll defriend you if you're not appropriate.
Damn right.
Good man.
Right. And I'm not afraid. You know what? I wouldn't have done that a while ago, but now I have no patience. If you're going to make this a political, if you're going to get on our live feeds, whether it be Facebook or here, and you're going to start giving me your political views, or you're going to start mocking a guest of mine, or you're going to go off topic, I'm done. Block. And you're not getting back. And, I'm not like that. That's not who I am.
The only mocking will be Anthony of me, and don't you all forget about that. Right?
You know what? And I want to say, Glenn, I want to say something right here, right now. Is I mock you a lot, and I really get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
I know.
But I will say something. With all my technology problems I've had in the last couple of days, and looking like a complete moron, you have not once mocked me, and I appreciate that.
Sure. Well, this is a time to be generous with our emotion, but there will be time for plenty of mocking in the future. Let us not forget that. Guys, I'm feeling like I think that this show's about to wrap up. Any final words there, Sean Worker?
Just, patience and tenacity can go together, and a sense of urgency can be wrapped around that as well. And you can accomplish it all at one time where we all hear each other.
So, Sean, I'm going to ask you a question before we wrap up. What is, and you have to give me one thing that you do better than anybody else? What's your superpower?
Perspective.
Okay, that's a great superpower.
I like it.
Okay, Glenn. Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
All right, mine was being able to mock people, but I'm not allowed to use that anymore. So,
Sean, we met in Vegas recently, right?
We did.
Yeah. We had it was last May, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It was, 10 months ago. We had a drink at the Delano.
The cool upper bar there.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
I think it's a good show, Glenn.
Yeah, thank you everybody for being here, Sean. You are a rock star. I'll take you off the feed while we settle up.